Meadows Farm golf course in Grove, Virginia. I have played this course years ago, a long time ago, and it is a much more enjoyable course in much better condition than it was when I played it. Probably, I would say close to 10, well, at least 10, 15 years ago. It is in Grove, Virginia, and it is off Route 3 coming up from Fredericksburg. It's about halfway between Fredericksburg and Culpepper, Virginia. And just after you get to the Route 20 turn that goes out towards Orange. It is fairly remote from DC. I'd say it's about a good hour and a half out of DC, out of downtown DC. But I would definitely recommend this course. It was a fun course to play. I got out today. It was 60 degrees today with a high, nice and clear weather. Certainly windy though. It was definitely windy when I got there at 1 o'clock, and the wind kind of tapered down over the course of the day. I think this course is pretty familiar in some ways because it's like a lot of courses in different ways. It has the verticality of a course like Black Rock or Little Bennett to a large degree. It has a fair amount of water in play and quite a few hidden lakes and stream crossings and things you have to watch out for. You really have to look forward in the course and see what's going on, see how wide they cross and so forth. And I try to put some pictures in to show that on quite a few of the holes. It has a lot of sloping fairways, tiered fairways, some tiered greens, not much, but some. Enough trouble, enough waste to cause you to be careful, but not so much that it's a nightmare. And certainly, I would think it certainly had, I would say, some really good tee shots. And I would say that on a few of the greens, they were certainly a good challenge. I mean, there's no question that some of the greens on this course you're not going to see, pretty much on any other course. I don't think I've ever played a course that had a waterfall green, for instance. It was like some kind of castle/waterfall green on it's 3 9-hole courses tied together at the clubhouse. And one of them is the big draw on it, I guess, is that it has the longest hole in the United States. It's an 801-yard par 6. Another one has this waterfall hole, which is really just a sort of a big island that's up above. It's not really an island. It's like a hole with a lake in front of it, but except that the green is a good 50 feet above the lake, and there's a big stone wall between the lake and the green. I put lots of pictures in there so you can see that. And it has a bunch of really good shots, challenging shots. Certainly, I think for a experienced golfer, it would be a decent challenge on some holes, but on most of the holes, I would say most of your challenge is the tee shot. If you get off the tee well, you're going to be in good shape for the green. The greens are fairly large. They have very nice grass on them, although all the grass, of course, and likewise the fairway is brown this time of year. It's whatever that type of grass is that turns green when it gets warm and turns brown when it's cold. They have that on both the greens and the fairways. And the greens were a little bit long and a little slow, so they didn't have much break on them, despite the fact that there's a fair degree of slope on the greens. The greens are very large. There's some tiered greens and so forth. So it's not like an easy course to putt, but the greens are very large, I think, for most courses. And there are a few holes where it looks like there's really nothing going on there. And then you look closer and there's a sand trap that runs about 270 degrees around the green. I did see some things about the course I didn't like. One of the problems was this high tension wire, high power wire, whatever, that runs through the course, and it is in play in at least 2 or 3 of the holes. And I actually hit it once with a tee shot, and just what are the odds of that? And it's definitely something that you have to keep in mind in a couple of holes. And I thought for the most part the course was almost like a putt-putt course that had full-size putt-putt holes. Like one of those putt-putt courses where you play through a clown's mouth or you play through a windmill or something like that. It kind of has that feel on a couple holes. But at the same time, it does have a big, a professional feel to it. It's just that it mixes up quite a few different courses and in the way that it plays, and I certainly thought it was enjoyable, but at the same time, you did kind of have this, okay, come on, what now? I mean, the hole where there's basically a baseball field, and you've got a wooden wall around the backside of the green, I mean, that's ridiculous, but There were only a few holes like that. I would say that were a little bit, gamey, tricked up kind of holes and not really, good solid golf holes. I don't think that this is a course that most people would say is really tough, but it is a decent challenge. It certainly has some challenging shots, and there's a fair amount of water in place, a fair amount of waste, and a good degree of verticality. And certainly you do have to play some fades and some cut shots and stuff. And it's not like a walk in the park, but it's not really hard either. I'd say it's probably about a 4 out of 5 on a difficulty scale, made easier. Almost every hole is made easier by the fact that there is not much waste, if any waste whatsoever, around the greens. Sure, there's some, stumps here and a tree there and things like that, but it's not like, for instance, Little Bennett, where a lot of the holes have just ivy, all around the greens, and you don't have to hit more than 20 feet off the green before you are, lose your ball in that ivy. And it's really tough. There's certainly some risk around these greens on most of the holes, but not a lot. You shouldn't be losing too many balls in this course. It's not really the game that you have to worry about here is your irons. I think it's the drive more than anything else. And if you just, if you find yourself having too easy a time off the tee, step back a couple times. They have the blues, they have the blacks. The blacks are definitely a good distance behind the blues, and they certainly make things much more, noticeably more challenging off the tee. So a good variety there in terms of the tee shots, but perhaps not quite so much variety in the short game. And I didn't see any long grass. Obviously, it's January. Nothing really long, no real long waste, no real trouble around the greens. Oh, I should add that the prices and the hot dog test. So they didn't really have, spectacular hot dogs. Was okay. They had a nice deck, nice back deck where you could sit there and watch at least 2 or 3 of the holes. Good views. The food was okay. Nothing outstanding, but okay. It had a decent grill, decent clubhouse. And it was $30 for that round on Saturday in January without a hot deal, just straight off Golf Now. And the only thing I would really say was the beer was, $4, $5 a can. I mean, that's, wow. I can't imagine, that's quite a bit for a beer. And can't bring your own beer in the course. I probably can't bring your own food, but they definitely don't let you bring coolers on the course. And having to pay that kind of money for a beer, I mean, that's, not cheap in my opinion. I was surprised, even $4 for a can of imported beer. What did I get? Some Heineken or something. It was $4. I was like, whoa, okay. But other than that, it was good. $5 for, hot dog, chips, and a drink, which is pretty standard. And I really think it was a pretty good round, a decent price. The course was in very decent condition and a good round. I enjoyed it, and I certainly would recommend it. I would give it at least a B. I think if you are someone who enjoys challenging shots, you will find a lot of them on this course. Not the approach shots so much, but certainly the drives, certainly the second and third shots on the longer par 4s and par 5s. I really can't say that it was completely mundane in terms of the approach shots. There's enough water that you're crossing and certainly enough stuff that you have to watch out that there are some challenging approach shots, but I think that was probably the one area that was a little bit weak, and I just, it was fine. I would say it certainly looks like it's a 130 course, 135 maybe from the back tees. Certainly worth the money, certainly worth the time. Okay, also as far as the 3 9s, so apparently they have 3 9s there, and they reserve one of the 9s for beginning golfers. And I think that's a good call because the 2 9s that I played, one of them was a decently tough course, and the other one was a fairly, I would say, pretty tough course. I mean, it wasn't the toughest course I've ever played, but it was tough. It wasn't some beginner's course. And I think that's a good call. You definitely don't want to waste players' time with beginners trying to play the 2 courses that I played. I think that would certainly be beyond them. And while I didn't have too much trouble with the course, I wouldn't say it was easy at all. Certainly there were players out there that were playing when I was playing that did have trouble with the course. And I thought I had a pretty good round today for a lot of the holes, and I didn't have much trouble with the course that I think was definitely up in the Black Diamond area. The second one I played, the second 9, which was the waterfall 9. The first one, which was the longest hole 9, was, I would say, moderately tough. Not really out there anywhere in the fringe, and certainly a decent challenge for pretty much the average golfer. But the second one was a step or two above that. Certainly the waterfall hole was not an easy hole at all. And even the hole before that, which is just a par 4 dogleg down to the green that's down by the lake, is not easy, because if you don't really know how to control your shots coming into a green that's bordered on 3 sides by water, you're going to meet a lot of trouble in that green, because it's pretty small and it's all at the bottom of a hill. And but I was able to walk through it pretty easy, and I think a lot of players would. It wasn't that hard, but it certainly was not easy. So in difficulty, I would give this course maybe a 7 or 8 out of 10. Not because of the length, certainly because a lot of the shots were tricky, and there were obstacles in the course, like the power lines, things you had to deal with. But I think it matched that level of difficulty with the interestingness of the course and the challenge of the course. And I would definitely say that it was a rewarding course to play, certainly a fun course, and definitely worth the $30 to play it, definitely worth a drive down. Also, I think it's important to note that in terms of the value and in terms of the enjoyability of the course, I think that I've played courses that cost twice as much that were not this fun to play. And I certainly can't think of too many courses that are more fun to play just because they were longer. Let's put it that way. I don't think that necessarily makes it longer. The other thing is, I think if this course didn't play as quickly as it did, and I did get through my 18 holes in about 3.5 hours. However, I was held up a couple of times behind foursomes, and one foursome, actually a foursome let me pass and a twosome let me pass. But in general, I would say that I played it quickly enough, and it was not crowded enough where it was partially fun for that reason, because I could go out there, hit my shots, and pretty much play at my own pace. And no one was pushing me really ever. But also, I would say that if I had to sit out and wait 15 minutes at the tee box, or 10 minutes even at every hole on this course, it would probably lose its appeal to me very quickly. However, I'd still keep in mind the fact that it was only $30, and then it raises the question of how much the course costs, during the summer or spring or fall instead of in the winter. And I'm thinking at $30 for a Saturday round at the afternoon, this course could easily be in the 60s normally on the weekend during the summer. And I would be really, really reluctant to. And I think this was what happened the first time we played it. I would be very reluctant to sit and wait on each tee box on this course and pay $60 to play it. It's a fun course to play. There's no question about it. But I don't know if it's that fun where I'd want to wait on every hole for somebody else to play, for someone in front of me, or if it, and this is a Virginia course. There's no question that probably in the summer it will get slow and busy and all that good stuff. And I think this was just a great time to play it in January, and it wasn't empty. It was a good day to play, and there were quite a few people out playing, but I would be very leery about this course in normal conditions, simply because the pace of play would drop so much. And it's one of the problems with a good course in Northern Virginia. They get packed during the weekend. And I think that's something that you have to keep in mind when you talk about whether it's a good course or not. Would you want to play it if you had to wait 5 minutes at the tee for every hole? This course, once or twice, that's about it. So I definitely keep that in mind. I thought it was a decent course to play, and I enjoyed the round. It's Meadows Farms it's East Culpepper, west of Fredericksburg, out Route 3 in Northern Virginia. Good round.